Federal Security Service in Moscow last week. Whelan is expected to remain in custody until at least February the 28th. Authorities have yet to disclose details of the alleged espionage. On Wednesday, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo demanded Whelan's release. His family say he's innocent and had been in Moscow to attend a friend's wedding. Well, Julia Chapman joins me now live from Moscow. Julia, Russian media is painting a very different picture to the one that Whelan's family is painting. What more do we know?
Well, yes, as you say, the Russian authorities have given very little detail. So what we are learning about these allegations against Paul Whelan have been coming through some media sources, including one Russian website with close links to the Russian security agencies, which has been reporting today that some of the allegations against Paul Whelan include that he used Russian social media to attempt to befriend and recruit certain people from within bodies such as the Russian Defense Ministry and the Civil Aviation Authority, and that was why he became under suspicion after this website says that rather than chasing pretty girls on the internet, he was trying to befriend some men from certain bodies of the government here in Russia. And we also learned from that website that the Russian security services allegedly have arrested Paul Whelan because they was shortly after a handover of a flash drive that contained some sensitive information. But those claims are as yet unverified either by the Russian authorities or we haven't also heard any details yet from Paul Whelan's lawyer himself, who has been speaking today to confirm that those charges have been formally brought against him for espionage and that Paul Whelan has rejected them. But as you say, Paul Whelan's family very strongly denies that he was working as a spy. They say he came to Moscow and to Russia regularly, where he enjoyed coming for personal visits as well as work visits. But what they mean by work visits exactly to Russia, we don't really have any detail on yet.
And Julia, as we said, Paul Whelan's been detained and he's expected to remain in custody until at least February the 28th. But what's going to happen to this guy after that? I mean, is his government likely to come to his aid?
Well, that's a good question. His lawyer speaking today actually expressed hope that he would be released on bail. They have applied for bail. His lawyer says he shouldn't be considered a flight risk, and so he's optimistic that he will be released. But that seems rather unlikely given the serious nature of these charges. And if he is indeed found guilty of espionage, under Russian law, he could be in prison for 10 to 20 years. But there has been some speculation from a number of US officials that this arrest was in fact brought about in order to create the conditions for a prisoner exchange with Maria Butina, who's a Russian citizen who last week in the US pleaded guilty to the charges of conspiracy to act as a foreign agent in the US. And yesterday also the US ambassador to Russia visited Paul Whelan in prison, in the notorious Lefortovo prison where he is being held. And there are some suggestions among Russian commentators that the visit of the US ambassador himself, rather than a lower level consulate official, lends some credibility to these allegations.
Thank you for that. That's Julia Chapman live from Moscow.